morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a new Golurk card, and this one is very weird and could be good. Now, we've had a bunch of weird good Golurk in the past. We had one fairly recently in Ancient Origins that was Theta Stop, so no Pokemon abilities are hurting that, and was both Psychic and Fighting type as an ability. But I think the best Golurk we had was actually the one with Devolution Punch, did 60 damage and then devolved the defending Pokemon, great for taking out stage 2s that had evolved using Rare Candy. And that even got a beautiful full art, well, really secret rare print, not really full art, over in Boundaries Cost. And oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, it was fun. So what does this new Golurk do? Well, the good news is it's got 140 HP. That's quite high. For a stage 1, that's very high. It's got a retreat cost of 4, which means you can make that even higher by using buff padding, put it up to 190 HP. Although being a psychic Pokemon, you should also consider using Spell Tag to drop 4 damage counters when it's KO'd. Having a retreat cost of 4 also means you can use Pokemaniac to search it out, and being a psychic Pokemon means you can use Mysterious Treasure to search it out. So in a format where Pokemon search is at a premium, this is a very easy Pokemon to search out and get rolling. Weakness to darkness honestly isn't a huge problem. Zoroark has left the format, and the kind of biggest problem for this would be something like Umbreon and Darkrai, except Umbreon and Darkrai hitting 150 and KOing you without weakness anyway. So it doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. We're fine. And it's even got a resistance to fighting, which we love. With Pikachu and Zekrom running around right now, and Raichu and Alolan Raichu, people are going to want to play fighting decks and fighting cards to take them out, and this will protect against them a little bit. So that's quite nice. And as if all that wasn't good enough, you're a psychic Pokemon. I've already mentioned Spell Tag, I've already mentioned Mysterious Treasure. Did I mention you've got Malamar to accelerate energy? And did I mention that you're hitting weakness on Mewtwo and Mew, which is one of the best weaknesses to hit at the moment? Yes, I know that Jirachi takes away weakness, but I also know that you can play Power Plant, turn off Jirachi using your turn, and immediately hit for weakness before your opponent can do anything about it. Sooner or later, I'm going to stop mentioning that every time I mention a psychic Pokemon. I look forward to all the people telling me I forgot to mention Jirachi. But what does it actually do, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the lovely Antoine Boulet has given us our translation because lovely person and, well, been helping us out a lot lately with translations. Big up to the lovely Antoine Boulet. The first attack is the least exciting of the two. 1 psychic energy, 40 damage, not affected by resistance. Now, the good news is that there are actually a bunch of Pokemon that resist psychic. All darkness Pokemon, that Umbreon and Darkrai I mentioned earlier, yeah, they're resisting ya. So yes, okay, I get it, they've got resistance, that's lovely, etc. But, I mean, you're doing 40 damage. If you can find yourself against a Ditto Prism Star, yes. I'm just not a fan of using an evolved Pokemon to do 40 damage. Right, if I'm doing 40 damage of an evolved Pokemon, I want to be accelerating energy or something. I really don't want to have to be mucking about doing 40 damage with no extra effect. Okay, it's for 1 energy, but it's on a stage 1, I'm not a fan. But I very much am a fan of the second attack. 2 colorless energy, 160 damage, on a stage 1, that is phenomenal. There's got to be a catch. Oh, yeah, there's a catch. If you have 1 or more supporter cards in your discard pile, so that is to say if you've got any supporter cards in your discard pile, this attack fails. If you've got any supporter cards in your discard pile, this attack does nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is one of the most phenomenal catches we've ever seen for a Pokemon attack. Now, don't get me wrong, 160 for 2 energy is flat out brilliantly phenomenal. It's not been that long since Ho-Oh GX was one of the very best Pokemon in the format, and Ho-Oh GX was sitting there rocking 180 for 4 energy, and 3 of them were coloured. I suppose it had Kiawe, but that ended your turn, so, you know, call it a draw. This, and we haven't got double colorless energy anymore, which is a little bit sad, but we still do have triple acceleration energy. And I mentioned Malamar earlier, and it's colorless energy, so you can use Welder here, or you could use Tapu Koko Prism Star to attach one lightning energy to each of 2 bench Pokemon when you lost zone it, turning them into a single energy attack. It is spectacularly easy to pay this attack cost in 1 turn. And then you have got a Pokemon who you've got rolling in a single turn, who is doing 160 damage. Bearing in mind you're hitting a great weakness. Now 160 damage will just flat out KO Dedenne. It will also KO Jirachi even without Power Plant, because even if it's not weak to you, you're still getting a KO. Then of course, if you're hitting for weakness, and Mewtwo and Mew sees a lot of play at the moment, nominally Latios, okay, you're only actually doing an extra 10 damage, but still, it's a psychic weak Pokemon that's seeing play, so we should mention it. Espeon and Deoxys is seeing a fair amount of play at the moment. That's going to go down in 1 hit. You are getting a bunch of relevant Pokemon, and basically any fighting and the majority of psychic Pokemon. There are the ghost ones like Golurk that are weak to darkness, but the rest of them will be weak to psychic, along with pretty much all fighting Pokemon. So you're hitting a good weakness, and 160 will get the vast majority of non-GXs. So, you know, even your stage 2s, think of things like, let's mention Haxorus again. People have been loving that a little bit lately. And that's sitting there with a pretty good amount of HP, to be honest with you. Sitting there with 150, that's going down. Even your slightly beefier ones like Empoleon are going down. I mean, you're getting a KO here on basically all non-GXs, save a few really beefy exceptions. A bunch of really weak GXs, like a pair really, and anything that's weak. And that's before you add in stuff like Shrine of Punishment. Yes, I know I advocated for Power Plant earlier, and any psychic Pokemon really does need to consider Power Plant nowadays to turn off Jirachi. Bearing in mind it will also turn off Mewtwo and Mew and Dedenne and a bunch of other good stuff. So there is a decision that needs to be made there, I shall grant you that. But Shrine of Punishment will help if you can find the space for it. 160 for 2 energy is phenomenal, but we should get back to the whole you've got to have no supporters in your discard pile thing. And that is a problem. Now, there are basically 2 ways you can manage this. Way number 1 is just don't play any supporter cards. And not playing any supporter cards is viable. We do have a bunch of other things you can do. You can use stuff like Order Pad, you can use stuff like Acrobike, you can use stuff like Custom Catcher, and just play some ridiculous speed deck using item cards. I am not recommending this, but it is potentially an option. Of course, if you do go full item card and then you come up against a Beheeyem, or any other kind of item lock, Luxio would do it as well, you've got nobody to blame but yourself. Omastar, there's one more example. So what's the other option then? Because I don't know if going full item is something we want to be doing. Well, the other option is you get them back. Now, Lusamine here won't work, because yes, Lusamine will pick 2 supporter cards out of your discard pile, but it will also put a supporter card in your discard pile. So what you can do here is just use stuff like Palpad. You can use Palpad here. It shuffles 2 supporter cards from your discard pile back into your deck. Now, I suppose you could use Lusamine to get some and then Palpad to get your Lusamine. That would work. The other thing you can do here is use Oranguru, which puts 3 cards from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck, or the new Excadrill that shuffles 4 cards from your discard pile into your deck. And they would just allow you to take all of your supporter cards out of the discard pile. And that would work. I don't know how viable this is. One of the things I love, there are a bunch of Pokemon where you can basically play Ditto Prism Star and then just play one stage 1 because it can evolve into anything. So if you're playing Ditto Prism Star in your deck anyway, and you've got anything like Triple Acceleration, Welder, etc., you can just play your Ditto Prism Star, and if there's a Mewtwo and Mew or something similar on the field, you can just Golurk Triple Acceleration Energy Smash. The fact that you cannot have any supporter cards in your discard pile is a huge, huge issue. But you can build around it. You can, I mean, we've seen decks. Tord Reklev at the Pokemon World Championships played 4 Welder. That was it. his entire deck, and bearing in mind he made the top 4 of the World Championships with a deck that played 4 Welder and did not play any other supporter cards. It is possible, ladies and gentlemen. I am not saying you should, but what I am saying, and I want to say this quite clearly, turning around and going, oh, you got to have no supporter cards in your discard pile, it's trash and garbage. No, I don't buy that at all, I'm afraid. Tordoreklev made top 4 of the World Championships in a deck with 4 Welder, and he even played a pal pad. So there is no reason why you couldn't have that deck at some point during the game with no supporter cards in the discard pile. And you're already playing Welder. Obviously, if you play Welder, you've then got to pal pad it back immediately. You know what I'm saying about this. It is possible, it's just awkward. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. It is a phenomenal attack with a huge drawback, but one that can be managed. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. You know that by now, ladies and gentlemen. But I would very much like to know what you think about this deck, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.